when it ultimately peeks through. You need to go it alone. Come on, it ain't that hard. Free Julian Assange, he's being held without charge. Free Julian Assange, mighty England, all on your own. There's a job to do, be true to yourself, stand up. Don't cloud perception with your rules. Come on, it ain't that hard.
It ain't that hard.
Free Julian Assange, he's being held without charge.
It ain't that hard.
Free Julian Assange.
It's to keep him in the courts and to keep him in solitary confinement for at least another 10 years before he's ever going to
Julian's case.
On the rabbits, go the rabbits. I don't know if Julian was a rabbit.
You need to go it alone. He's being held without charge.
It ain't that hard.
Free Julian Assange. Say no to extradition.
It ain't that hard. Free Julian Assange.
You can consider your position.
It ain't that hard. Free Julian Assange. Come on.
justice by the people, not justice of the people. Thank you.
Let's call us. Where's Julian Assange?
Okay, Greg Barnes. Greggy Barnes, famous Australian barrister, close friend of Julian Assange. And he says the Australian government and all MPs, we hope, place pressure on the US to make it understand that the treatment of an Australian citizen in this way is not something that should happen. Kevin Rudd today says, if the US prosecutor's case is essentially that Mr. Assange broke the law by obtaining and disclosing secret information, then I struggle to see what separates him from any journalist who solicits, obtains and publishes such information. In other words, why should Mr. Assange be tried, convicted and incarcerated while those who publicly release the information are afforded protection under provisions of the US Constitution concerning press freedom?
Well, that can be changed.
Ultimate responsibility for keeping sensitive information secure rests with the governments. The United States government demonstrably failed to effectively secure the classified documents relevant to this case. The result was the mass leaking of sensitive diplomatic cables, including some that caused me, that's Kevin Rudd, some political discomfort at the time. However, an effective life sentence is an unacceptable and disproportionate price to pay. I would therefore oppose his extradition. Thank you, Kevin Rudd. They are the words of a true statesman who, although embarrassed by this man, is prepared to stand for this man's rights to embarrass him. Thank you, Kevin Rudd. We've got Pietro who would like to make a statement about Kevin Rudd. Come on up, Pietro.
Kevin Rudd was the Australian Prime Minister from 2007 to about 2010. He was removed from power whilst the Prime Minister of the country. In around 2000, just after his dismissal, his removal from power and replaced by Julia Gillard, WikiLeaks published documents that revealed that members of the Labor Party, and I'm going to name them, they were Mark Arbib, Paul House, who was the leader of the Australian Workers' Union, as well as David Feeney, who was a senator in the federal parliament from Victoria. These three characters, all members of the Labor Party, what WikiLeaks revealed, and this is one of the reasons why any hope in pressuring the Labor Party to demand the release of Julian Assange, it will fall on deaf ears. Why? Because the Australian Labor Party has been revealed by WikiLeaks itself. By WikiLeaks itself, to be an agent of American foreign policy in Australia. Okay? And if you go back historically, this has been confirmed over and over and over again. If you go back to 1991, the Labor Party government of Bob Hawke and Paul Keating, they actually went along with the George Bush Sr. attack on Iraq in 1991, okay? Then, once again, right, the Labor Party has demonstrated that it will back US foreign policy in every part of the world. And that's why Julian's freedom can't be left to the responsibility of the Australian Labor Party. It can't. It's up to the Australian people, it's up to the world people to demand and to organise and mobilise for Julian's freedom. I found out about the WikiLeaks and the Kevin Rudd connection. One through the Sydney Morning Herald, because at that time WikiLeaks was, if you consider the environment at the time, Julian Assange had just won the Walkley Award in Australia. The Walkley Award is the #1 prize for an Australian journalist. So that dispels any myth that Julian Assange is not a journalist, right? That's the first thing. But the fact that the Walkley Award was given to Julian Assange in his time, it also gave him a priority as far as being a trusted source for truth in an environment of media lies and government corruption and government lies. And remember, people, that the first casualty of war is the truth. They go to war by telling you lies, right? No war has been started by the truth, especially not in Australia or the United States. And they're preparing another one now. The reason why they want to destroy Julian Assange is because they can't have the truth, right? They can't live with the truth because they are planning greater crimes. I mean, you think about it, right? If you have a torture program, if you have a program of invading and destroying and murdering millions of people, how can you pass that through to the population in an honest way? How can you tell the people honestly what they did, what they are doing? You can't. It's impossible, right? You're undermining your own attempt to convince the public that they should support their foreign policies, which is untenable, right? You can't do that. And so, because they're going after Julian Assange, what they're really doing and saying is, we want to be able to wage war, we want to be able to murder millions, we want to be able to torture people and get away with it. That's what they're saying, right? They want to be able to do what they've done and get away with it. And you know what? They are getting away with it. Julian's going to be extradited to the United States. That's what the United Kingdom court has just passed. They just passed a judgment saying they're going to send an Australian journalist to America to the very people that wanted to murder him. Where does that happen in the world? Where? You tell me.
In Britain, in the United Kingdom, that's where it happens. In the United Kingdom, that's where it happens. Under the British legal system, that's where it happens. Justice? No. Kangaroo court? Yes. Star Chamber? Yes. Shame, shame, shame. Where's Julian? In Her Majesty's Prison, Belmarsh. Replacing the Tower. They used to put them in the Tower. Now they put them in Belmarsh. Anybody that speaks truth to these ruthless overlords gets put in Belmarsh. Shame, shame, shame. Our British legal system is dead. We must build a new legal system. So folks, please pay attention. Your rights have been stripped away now for at least 11 years. Your right to know the truth about the wars that are perpetrated with your money in your name, the murder and mayhem that has taken place in many countries throughout the world with your money in your name. This must end. And the truth will end it. And Julian is providing the truth. Listen to this man, support this man. This man is standing for your liberty. He's not standing for his liberty. He's given up 11 years of his liberty because he's fighting for your liberty. Please repay the debt. Stand up. Google, get the phone out of your pocket, Google Julian Assange petition and sign it right now and share it right now. Thank you.
When I'm back on top, here with you. That's life, funny as it seems. People get their kicks, stepping on things. I don't let it get me down. 'Cause this whole world keeps turning around. Up there, a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, a pawn, and a king. I've been up and down and over and out. I know one thing. Well, each time I find myself flat on my face, I pick myself up and get back in the race. That's life. Oh, I can't deny it. I thought I couldn't, but my heart wouldn't mind. Because something's not happening by next July. I'm gonna roll myself up in a big ball and die. I've been a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, a pawn, and a king. I've been up and down and over and out. I know one thing. Well, each time I find myself flat on my face, I pick myself up and get back in the race. That's life. Oh yeah, I can't deny it. I thought I couldn't, but my heart wouldn't mind. If something's not happening by next July, I might just roll myself up in a big ball and die. Thank you, folks. Well, we're here to try and get some justice for Julian Assange, who is, up until recently, never been charged with doing anything wrong, and he's been smeared in the media of being a sexual predator and a rapist, and there's many lies being told to the public about him. But point of fact, he hasn't been charged for anything until recent months, or about a year or so. He's been effectively kept confined or bunged up in confinement or custody for 10 years now for exposing war crimes. And we believe it's time that the people of the world stand up for people who are prepared to speak freely and release information about government crimes.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Julian's still being arbitrarily detained in Belmarsh prison at the moment, facing 175 years in jail in the US prison system. His legal team have just appealed that decision of extradition to the US today. So I think it's just going to be a thing of them keeping Julian in jail for as long as they possibly can. But he really needs the public to get behind him and help get him home. He's an Australian citizen, a Walkley Award-winning Australian citizen for that matter, and yeah, he needs everybody's support to get behind him. Ring up your local MPs and contact your government officials and demand that Julian Assange is free. You know, it's not just about him either, it's about the future of true journalism and you know, the public's right to know what our governments are up to. And it always seems to be that the people who are, you know, the whistleblowers who are putting their lives on the line really to give us the truth of what's going on in our name. The whistleblowers, like there's others as well, it's like David McBride and Bernard Collery and Witness K, who've exposed crimes of our governments. And they're the ones who are being persecuted while the ones who are committing the crimes are walking free. So yeah, Julian needs all the support he can get, especially now. He's just had a stroke in Belmarsh and yeah, he's just sort of hanging in there, and it doesn't look too good for him, so we need to get him out.
You can consider your position.
Free Julian Assange.
It's not just about him, it's about the whole thing.
And this happened, I last saw it 2 weeks.
Welcome to the 109th Julian Assange Sydney Town Hall gathering on Christmas Eve. Julian is still in solitary confinement for 23 hours a day. He is completely innocent and he remains on remand, convicted of no crime, facing his third Christmas in a row in solitary confinement. He is suffering poor health that is undoubtedly the sum result of the treatment he has received from UK authorities over the past 11 years of arbitrary detention and psychological and now physical torture. He is underweight, and after a recent mini-stroke, he has memory issues and is suffering with a drooping eyelid, along with other neurological injuries. We need to raise massive public support to pressure our politicians to get him out of there as soon as possible. Julian Assange is a hero for publishing in the public interest. When people speak the truth, they act in the public interest. We cannot stay silent about public interest truth and maintain that we are morally engaged. If we are silent on Julian Assange, we act in favour of the establishment and the corrupt system it uses to maintain corrupt power. We have to encourage people to come to the realisation that democracy involves all people and not just a privileged few. We all have a duty to be morally engaged if we want to live in a system that is free and just. And as they say, the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. Freedom of the press was clearly under threat 11 years ago when Julian Assange received many death threats from the establishment as he defiantly published important truth. But although he has been awarded for his groundbreaking journalism, the mainstream media has failed to support him. The portrayal of Julian by the mainstream media has given us insight into how our corrupt systems operate. The mainstream media can now reasonably be viewed as a form of controlled opposition, controlled by those who own and fund them. The mainstream media like to give the impression that they are on our side and fighting on our behalf to bring us the truth. But their scam is revealed when we see them falling short on giving wholehearted support to Julian Assange. If the mainstream media had stood up for Julian by reporting the truth about him, instead of publishing smears, lies, and partial truth, Julian would have remained free over the past 11 years. When you analyse the mainstream media's messaging about Julian, you find it confined to perpetrating a myth of a free press. They show a complete disregard for Julian's contribution to investigative journalism and any of the achievements bringing much needed knowledge to the public. And the piece of journalism that he is being persecuted for is the same piece of journalism that he won a gold Walkley Award for in Australia. Through WikiLeaks, Julian Assange has given us a taste of what a real free press can be. The fight to free Julian is an ongoing fight to establish a free press, or possibly a fight to re-establish one, if a free press ever truly existed. The increasing severity of the persecution of Julian Assange has coincided with an incremental loss of civil liberties around the world. As we are exposed to greater levels of lies and injustice, we find there is ever greater need to switch off propaganda and turn on the truth. There now appears to be a desperate scramble by the powerful towards establishing a global totalitarian state. Apparently, our system is now so visibly corrupt, totalitarian control is the direction those currently holding power have decided to direct their efforts. Everyone must realise that neither our governments nor the mainstream media are on our side. Firstly, governments and media conspired to silence Julian Assange by smearing and isolating him and through gagging his communications with the outside world. Then they silenced truth from other journalists through intimidation by showing their willingness to torture an innocent journalist with impunity. Now they are in the process of silencing true medical science. We must not be influenced by the propaganda of mass genocidal totalitarianism. We must wake up and realise the truth so that we can all unite for freedom. Free Julian Assange!
Free Julian Assange!
Free Julian Assange!
Free Julian Assange!
Free Julian Assange! Inmate!
Our mate!
Julian Assange!
Inmate!
Our mate!
Julian Assange!
There is only one decision!
No extradition!
There is only one decision!
No extradition!
Free! Free!
Julian Assange!
Free! Free!
Julian Assange!
Free! Free!
Julian Assange!
Thank you.
Whistleblowers are on the outside.
So I think that
Corrupt politicians aren't on the outside. They love that cushy job they walk into after politics. Free Julian Assange. Jail the criminals.
No, I love it. I like the old wine with the green accents.
Yes. Summary.
Yeah. Come on, we'll have a little fashion pro. No, I was just commenting on Bridget's outfit. Beautifully, the sandals, the accents, the basic white, purity, honesty. Aqua. Now, would you like to read about Julian? You can sign these online petitions here. That'd be good. And share them around with all your friends and family. That's the only way we're going to get him out. We've got to get enough people. Julian Assange.
We are all